At Leftover Chef, we share delicious ways to reuse leftovers to save money and help the planet. Welcome to an occasional spin on the show, Celebrity Chef Chat. Hello, everyone. I am so delighted and excited to be here with the legendary Chef Tyler Florence. Chef, welcome.
Hi, how are you? Good to see you. How you
It's
doing?
great. It's great to see you.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you taking a few minutes to talk to us, not only about a couple of thoughts on the Food and Wine Classic of Aspen, but in a minute we'll talk about your thoughts on food sustainability and leftovers. So
Sure.
first of all, you've been to this show or to this conference, this festival many times.
Yeah, I think maybe like 15 times.
15
Yeah, a
times.
lot,
Okay,
yeah.
so since
Yeah.
you were a young boy.
Exactly. Yes.
What is your takeaway? You know, when you come away, do you feel like there's more I need to do? I need to pivot this way, or is it just a celebration?
It's a big celebration. There's always things that you learn, and always very interesting people that you bump into, just like yourself. There's very thought-provoking moments that make you go, okay, that's a brilliant statement, or there's so many great side conferences and side conversations that happen on stages, which is always really interesting. You always learn something
I love
when
that.
you come to the classic. And
Even
so
someone who's been doing this as long as you have and is as at top of his game as you are, you still learn
you
new
never
things.
stop learning. You never stop learning.
Wonderful.
There's always like something new to be shared, or something, a really important message to be refreshed in a way. So I always get so much out of coming.
That's
Yeah.
wonderful. Thank you. As you know, my show Leftover Chef is about helping home cooks not throw food away,
Mhm.
keeping food out of the landfill. 40% of all our food is thrown away, which is just staggering. It costs the average person $1,500 a year when food is so expensive now. I know that you have a lot of opinions and tricks, so I just wanted to hear from you. Do you have any thoughts on what home cooks could do better to prepare to not throw food away?
I think it's an epidemic. It's a huge problem, and it's a problem that there's no easy solution for it, because it ultimately ends with the consumer.
Right.
From the farming practices, if the tomatoes aren't perfect, they get thrown into a pile. So you lose a lot of like
Right.
perfectly good, edible, sauceable product that just kind of end up as compost that rot
That's
right
kind
there.
of staggering to me. I've done some research on that, and like an onion's not perfectly shaped, so
Yeah.
we're not going to send it to market.
Yeah, because no one wants to buy it, right?
Right.
But it still tastes really good, right?
Right.
And then once it gets to the grocery store, it's just kind of the same thing. Like you
Right.
have to refresh that presentation stack of avocados or bananas or oranges or fresh herbs every single day. And if they start to wilt, and like what they call FIFO, first in, first out.
Right.
And so if they start to not look quite so fresh, then you're affecting the sales in that entire category. So the older pieces have to go, and then they pull the newer pieces back up to the front. And so there's a huge loss that happens at the grocery store level. The biggest loss happens at home, right?
Right.
And so this is where most of the food gets thrown away. So when people go shopping, they'll either hop into a delivery service like Instacart or Safeway, what we use a lot in Northern California, and they'll shop based on ingredients instead of shop based on recipes, right?
Right.
Right. And so to me, like that's the big thing. They'll buy broccoli because they know the kids will eat it. They'll buy potatoes because they know the kids will eat it, and then they'll kind of pivot from the freezer section back to the fresh section and kind of get some fun things. And then what happens is they'll buy all this food, and then they'll get DoorDash takeout on top of all that stuff.
Oh, wow.
And so they'll
Sure.
they'll have a whole pantry, bread, cupboard, refrigerator, freezer full of food. And then they'll go, you know what? I'm just too tired to cook, and then
Right.
and so that stuff will not, just
Ends up withering away.
ends up withering away. And so everything that's in your vegetable drawer right now, and really just close your eyes and imagine, you know what's in there.
You do.
You know what's in there, right?
And you
Uh,
put it to the back, and you hope you don't think about it for a while.
Right.
You know.
That's all just perfectly edible stuff that either shouldn't have been purchased in the first place, or do yourself a favor and actively try to find a recipe and a way to use it. Because it's only become more complicated with our climate change happening.
Oh my gosh. Right.
So everything's getting hotter, which means the growing seasons are technically shorter
Shorter.
because it's too hot to grow things in most of the country. Like you can't grow grass in Texas to feed cattle
Oh.
because it's too
Goodness.
hot.
Right.
So now where you used to be able to, right? And now grass has to be imported from other states to feed the cattle in Texas. So you end up with this like perpetual unstable system that just doesn't work really well.
You're taking one carbon footprint and shrinking it, and then adding something over here when you're importing grass.
You're just moving stuff around, right? And versus kind of hitting the problem head on. So I think it's reduce your purchasing.
Okay.
Buy in shorter spurts.
Okay.
I know it feels a little more complicated, but don't feel like you got to go hit those big $650, 2.5 cart
big box market.
I'm gonna go buy deep because it's like Saturday and I'm gonna buy a bunch of stuff. You end up throwing most of that out, and you do.
That's such good advice.
Right. So and I actually think you really got to think through the recipe, right? So the first thing you got to ask yourself, like, what kind of food do I like? Like, identify your palate.
Right.
Do I like Latin American food? Do I like French food? Do I like Italian food? Do I like all American comfort food? Like, what's my palate?
Right.
And then give yourself a couple books, right? And then go, okay, I'm gonna master 10 recipes this year. I'm gonna learn a new language. I'm gonna master 10 recipes.
That seems, if you put it out that way, it's doable.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you look at the shelf of cookbooks and go, I'm overwhelmed.
You can't eat an elephant in one bite, but if you break it down in kind of smaller pieces, all of a sudden you say, I can consume this.
Right.
And then so you start to learn, things that you could easily cook, that you have a lot of confidence with, that your kids are going to like. And then all of a sudden you're shopping specifically for those recipes versus shopping because something appears to be fresh. Like lettuces, like boxed lettuces, half of those go in the garbage.
Yes.
Loose bulk carrots, half of those go in the garbage.
I've been guilty before leftover chef, I
have
to say.
That's what I'm saying. Like celery, you use bits and pieces of that goes in the garbage can. Garlic goes in the garbage can. Avocados go in the garbage can. So all these things
it's terrible.
Just shop the recipe. I think that's the message.
So be a little more surgical in how you gather food and put it together to put it on your table instead of
just shopping the perimeter of the grocery store, ultimately to get to the freezer section.
Right.
And then you kind of end up with this a hodgepodge of ingredients that look fresh, but when you get them home, you really don't know what to do with them.
Right.
You really don't know how to make them taste good. But if you get a couple of books and go, okay, here's my 10, 15, maybe even 20 go-tos, right? Everybody always asks me, like, Chef, what's your go-to, right?
Yeah.
What's your go-to, right? What's your stack of go-tos that your family are going to love? My wife has maybe 25 dishes under her belt that are all just bangers.
That's probably all you need.
But forever. And then you kind of put them in rotation and then go,
then tweak them for seasons and.
Exactly. So like sometimes she makes really great stir fries. My wife has a super fancy, kind of expensive Japanese rice maker. It's really good. But her rice game is next level, right? And so it's like a 2-to-1 ratio: salt, a little splash of rice wine vinegar, and a knob of ginger. And she'll close it. And she'll steam it. But that rice recipes you can take it a couple different directions, right? You can add fresh tomatoes and jalapeno, and then finish it with cilantro and olive oil and lime juice.
Nice palate.
It's a nice palate.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it's like really good proteins and really great vegetables to go along with that. I always recommend sheet pan roasting a lot of vegetables.
Oh, I love that. And even vegetables to me that look a little bad in the crisper. I had some tomatoes. I put them with some chicken in the sheet pan. Beautiful.
They're great.
Perfect. Because I wouldn't put them on a salad.
But once they start to break down, like brown bananas aren't texture-wise like awesome to eat as they are, but God, do they taste really good in banana bread.
So true.
So you've got recipe A, what you're going to eat, and then recipe B on how you're going to use it.
I love that.
Right? Recipe A is what you're going to eat, and recipe B is how you're going to not throw it in the garbage can. And really think about that.
So let me ask you about a recipe B. Do you have a go-to? I know you like that phrase. Of something that you like to make with leftovers. It could be Thanksgiving or a late night use of rice.
Pick one. Just pick anything off the top of your head. It's a party trick. I can make a recipe out of anything.
Trick. Cool. All right. So what would you do with leftover meatballs?
Leftover meatballs. I would either turn it into a meatball sandwich.
Nice.
Or I would smash them up and fold them into a sauce. Or I would smash them up and turn it into a scrambled egg dish.
Oh, now you're talking.
Yeah. Or I would put barbecue sauce on them and like make barbecue meatballs. Or
we have many iterations.
It's a party trick. I could do this all day long. That's what being a chef for as long as I have.
You got to think on your feet, right?
Well, you have this repertoire all the time, right? Of how this kind of fun things that you can just do with them. So.
Well, I'm going to thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, you can also split them in half. put a little bit of
Wait, what?
like take the meatball, cut it right in half. I'm rolling on this.
I
right?
love this.
Cut it right in half, and then
Okay.
put a little dollop of a little piece of mozzarella cheese,
I'm loving
right?
this.
And then broil it, and then
Cheese down, cheese up.
cheese up,
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
yeah.
cut side up, cheese on top of
Okay.
that, and broil it, and then a little fresh basil. You can serve that as a canapé.
I want to go
I
make
can
that
do this
right
all
now.
day long,
We could do
kids.
this all day long, but he's
Yeah.
got places to be.
Yeah.
Chef, thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you so much
So
for
nice
asking me
to
to do
meet
this.
you.
And this is one of the fun things about the classic. You get a chance to meet new friends
Well,
and
make new friends, and we so appreciate your time. You're such an important part of this festival.